Hi, this is by no means a professional video. I just want to share with people who might be interested in knowing how I load my quilts onto my Longarm using Velcro. I don't like pins. The pins, I stab myself every time and it hurts. And then I bleed on my quilts and it's awful. I have arthritis, so the red snappers are not practical for me because of the motion that I have to use with my hands to load them on. So when I got my Longarm machine and I have a 12-foot rail on it, I came up with what I consider to be a better method for loading quilts. One thing that I do need to say is I float my tops. If you do not, and so I don't use the third rail at all. If you don't float your tops, you can't use this method because I would not recommend sewing Velcro onto the top of a quilt, the pieced top. However, I sew Velcro to the backing very successfully, and in a minute I'll show you how. But what I had to do, you will have to take the leaders off your machine. So the first thing I did was remove the leaders from the rails and go to a domestic sewing machine. I purchased Velcro. I purchased a 25-yard roll of the loop aspect of the Velcro. This is the soft part, the loop. And 25 yards was more than enough to do these 2 leaders, and I'm finding now I'm doing them 2 times because after 5-6 years, this is finally wearing and starting to pull a little bit. In addition, my leaders, especially this one, have started to warp and come out of alignment, and so I'm going to be replacing my leaders, but I had plenty of Velcro to do it. So all I did was take the leader off, go to the domestic sewing machine, and sew the 1-inch industrial weight loop Velcro to the underside. When I did it the first time, I was very careful to leave the casing that the bars for the red snappers go in. I don't think that's necessary because I am sold on this. I'm not ever going to be using snappers, and these are my leaders. So when I sewed for the next ones, I just went ahead and sewed them down. Both sides, very careful, very straight. Once your leaders are put back on, and your Velcro goes to obviously the underside of the leader where my words are take up, and on the underside of the back. That's where the loop Velcro goes. And now I'll show you how to put on the hook Velcro. In my sewing room, I have attached to the back of a door, back of the sewing room door, all I did was use the sticky loop, that's the black that you see, Velcro, and I have an array of different lengths of the industrial weight hook Velcro. This one is going to be with the fabric. I have several. I have a couple that are extra long for when I need extra long quilts, and they just hang there. When I need them, I just pull and go. And what I will do is pull the size I need and get ready to sew it to the back of the quilt. Okay, now I'm ready to attach the hook Velcro to the backing of the quilt. It is usually best if you can use the selvage edge. You don't have to, but the one thing you obviously have to make sure is that it is a straight edge, that your quilt is exactly straight. I'm going to attach by using a basting thread. On my machine, I changed the stitch length to about 3.7 so that I have a good heavy basting thread. One thing you do need to know about the hook Velcro, it's going to kind of chew the thread. So don't worry if your top thread gets a little frayed and you have to stop and re-thread it. That's not a big deal, and that might very well happen here. But all I'm going to do is lay my Velcro down a little bit off the edge, and I'm going to line up the edge of it with the edge of my selvage, and then I'm going to sew down the edge that's closest to the backing. This is the top and the bottom of the backing of the quilt. Not the sides, the top and bottom, so that it'll be easy to load onto the leaders and be ready to quilt. So I'm going to, with my basting stitch, doesn't matter what kind of thread, I'm going to sew on the edge of the hook Velcro, the edge that's closest to the bulk of the backing. All right. You can turn it off. As you sew on the Velcro, make sure that your fabric is not, it doesn't have any give underneath it. You don't want there to be gathering or even puckering of any kind. You want it to lay flat on the back side. So what I usually do is hold this taut. I don't pull it or strain it, but I do make sure that it's held taut. I don't let the feed dogs do the work in this case. Now that we have the Velcro on the top and bottom of the underside, the back side of the backing, we need to find the middle. So I'm going to match the sides, and again, always make sure that your backing is square. This won't be effective if even the sides are different lengths, but make sure the backing is square. I'm going to put a pin in at the middle, and my pin is facing the Velcro so it's easy to remove. The next thing I'm going to do is put my pinned middle to the middle line of my Velcro, and those of you who are accustomed to pinning using all kinds of pins, watch how quickly this is going to be loaded on. There's my pin, don't forget to take it out. And starting from the middle, you simply just rub the Velcro here, here, and here, out this direction, back to the middle, and I'm simply going to attach the Velcro here, out this direction, less than a minute, and I believe I have the top attached, like that. Then I'm going to do the same for the bottom. I'm going to find the middle of the bottom, and when the time comes after I get it rolled up, I will attach to there. Find the middle, not the middle of the Velcro. Be sure you are matching the middle of the fabric. Put my pin in here. Again, make sure it's facing that direction so it's easy to take out. And then I'll roll it up onto the take-up leader. Okay, and now that I have it rolled up onto the take-up, all I have to do is attach it to the back leader. And again, find the center with my center mark. Don't forget to take out the pin. This time I'm using the rail as a solid ground in order to attach the leader. And again, from the middle out, it's just press and smooth. To get it a little crooked, just undo it a little. Press and smooth. Be sure if you have extra Velcro coming out, be sure you go ahead and stick it down as far as you need to there. Back to the middle. I'm just going to press and smooth. Press and smooth. From the middle going out. And again, less than a minute, I have the back attached to my leaders, and I'm ready to roll it up. Okay, once you've finished quilting your project, the removal is so easy. You just tear the Velcro off of the, I say it's easy, there we go. It comes off this way. And then to get it off of the backing, because you used basting stitches, just tear it. That's all it takes. And within 30 seconds, that's undone. Pull the next one over. Same thing on the top. Pull off the Velcro and simply tear it to remove it. This Velcro has lasted 6 years. It can easily be replaced after it's used a lot, but that is my method of how I get my quilts on and off of my Longarm. Hope it helps to share.